When someone asks you, "How are you doing?" do you internally cringe? Do you have to ask yourself, what do they really mean? Well, you're not alone. Today, I'm going to share with you 4 quick, simple, and easy factors that have helped me navigate and confidently answer that age old small talk question, "How are you doing?" Stick with me to the end where I'll share with you how you can access the easy download with these 4 tips. Let's get started. If you're new, welcome. I'm Carole Jean and I'm autistic. Each week, I'll be sharing with you science research into social interactions and neuroscience, things that help us as autistics get to become socially intelligent autistics. Before we can even get to the 4 factors, we have to quickly cover why small talk? Why is it important? What's the purpose? What's the purpose of small talk? It's to lead to more significant and meaningful conversations. We all love those really great, engaging conversations, but we didn't get there out of nowhere. We had to start somewhere, and that was the small talk. Any great conversation you've ever had with somebody started with small talk. You have to know their name, right? You're not going to have a great conversation with somebody and you don't even know their name. The next thing about small talk is, why are we and others driven to have it? Why is small talk such a thing, right? Well, people are wired for connection. Our brains as humans are wired for connection. We're constantly seeking it out. That's just what our brain does. As autistics, we may have a varying need. We may have a different or degree of approach to it, but the need is there. And small talk is a part of it. Who has small talk? Well, is it just the extroverts? Is it just those people that so easily engage with someone else? Heck no, it's the introverts too. And science research even shows this. Introverts are just as apt to engage in small talk as an extrovert. Why is small talk so important? Why are we talking about it today? I am a huge, all right, confession, I am a huge stand-up comedy fan. So I watched a Tom Segura act that he had on Netflix, and there was a segment in there about this, about small talk. It was about, he asked a guy outside a bank one day, "How are you doing?" And he put it in his act. It was so significant. Well, the guy doesn't respond right away. As Tom is entering the bank building, the guy then decides to respond as to how he was doing. I was like, oh my gosh, this has been me before. I've done this. And as he started to describe the conversation, I'm thinking, that guy must have been autistic because I've done that. Oh my gosh, I've had that exact same experience. And I know you guys have too, where you didn't have the response right off the top of your tongue. It wasn't like right there because you weren't really sure. You were having to think about, well, what do they mean? How am I doing? Do they really want to know? Or are they just asking me to be polite? And then we kind of give too much information. This totally happened. Well, it's such a big part of all of our interactions. I mean, as humans, not just neurotypical or neurodiverse, small talk is a part of people. Well, it's such a big issue, it's even in comedy. Now, granted, I put a link in the description below that you can go watch this clip for his act. There's some bad language in it, and I don't really like that, but it's part of it, right? Sometimes. Well, I want you to watch it, and there was a part where I kind of got really upset about it, and I thought, he's making fun of it. And I thought, no, he's not. He's just talking about the simple fact that this happens with everybody. It's not just autistics. Even neurotypical people struggle sometimes to identify how to respond to those small talk questions as simple as, "How are you doing?" Why is small talk important? It's because they lead to more meaningful conversations. And those meaningful conversations lead to deeper, more intimate, and meaningful relationships. You may not love small talk, you may not be a big fan of it, but it gets you that person, that one person in your life that you know gets you and understands you. You got to know their name first. You got to know where they live, where they go to school. It's small talk. You got to get there, right? So let's talk about these 4 quick and easy factors. I came up with these as things that I know work, things that I use to help navigate the small talk question, "How are you doing?" So, number one, what is the relationship with the person asking the question? So, what is your relationship with the person that's asking you the question? So, is this somebody that is just a complete stranger? You do not know their name. They're passing you on the street and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" We've all had it. Well, it's pretty simple. It's your response is, "I'm good. I'm fine. Thanks." You don't ask them how they're doing. They keep going, right? They're walking past you. Uh, the other thing is it could be somebody who's just an acquaintance. It could be a coworker. It could be your best friend. It could be your significant other. These things factor into how intimate a response you give. If it's not just the rote, great, fine, doing good, whatever. The people you give your real response to are your intimate relationships. The people that have a vested interest in you. That's a good determining factor for number one. Number two, is the person asking the question standing, sitting, or are they walking? I know this seems super simple, and you're like, duh, Carole Jean, why? Well, here's the thing. If you come across somebody and they're walking, they're moving, they're not really giving you the body language, the signal saying, I want to have an intimate or in depth conversation. I really want to know how you're doing. That's a big clue. If somebody's moving in some way, it's usually a big indicator they're not looking for a real intimate response, right? If somebody's standing or sitting, then you have to gauge, well, what is my relationship with this person? And is this a way to further a conversation or to deepen a conversation? Or is this a way to engage or deepen a relationship that I have? So if it's new, it's somebody that you're kind of acquainted with, you want to give a vague or easy answer. I'm doing great. I've been busy working on my book. How are you doing? So that segue, telling them what you've been up to, but not something super personal, that gives a segue into creating more meaningful conversation. Because then they're going to ask you, oh, you're writing a book? If it's an intimate person, an intimate relationship, then you can tell them how you're really doing. You can invest more personal information into your response. Hope that one helps. Number three, what's the setting in which the question is asked in? This is a really simple question. It's kind of one of those, wow, they're sitting, okay, walking makes sense. But it makes a difference. Where are you? Where are you in relation to the atmosphere? Are you in a quiet room? Are you in a restaurant? Are you in a public venue? Are you in a big, crowded, noisy place? Are you at a party? Is it a big party? Is it a small party? All of these things factor in. Because here's the tip. If it is a loud or noisy environment, 9 times out of 10, even if it's an intimate relationship, you're not going to have an in-depth conversation. It's going to be pretty simple because the noise level's too high to really have an atmosphere where you can engage and have a deep conversation. So you're going to keep it simple. Your response isn't going to be in depth. However, if you're in a really nice restaurant or you're at home or you're at a friend's house and it's maybe just 2 or 3 people and you're sitting around the dinner table and you're having a conversation, and let's say we're going to have 2 scenarios. Let's say the person sitting across from you isn't somebody you know really well and you're having dinner at a friend's house and they say, how are you doing? That's an opening to further conversation, and it'll be a light small talk conversation setting where you'll say, oh, I'm doing great. I've been really busy working on my new project at work this week that I'm really excited about. And that gives them a chance to ask you about what you do for work. And then that builds on deeper questions, developing a relationship and a better conversation. If it's somebody you know really well and it's a situation at your friend's house, you're having dinner, and it's a setting where it's quiet, you can get in depth. You can have a more in depth conversation, but you don't want to divulge anything that other people around you may not need to know. Keep your business your business. Number 4, if the person asking the question, are they alone? Are they with another person? Are they with a group of people? It's another one of those really simple things you would think. It's kind of like, are they standing? Are they sitting? Are they walking? But it is important Because let's say you run into a really good friend of yours and they're alone and you're in the perfect setting. It's not really loud. Maybe you're outside and there's a park bench and you can sit down and neither one of you are in a hurry. You've established that, right? So that's the time that you can give a true, genuine answer of how you're doing, whether it's great, whether it's not great, and give the details of that. If you run into your really good friend and they're with an acquaintance, you don't really know them, you don't want to divulge, and they say, hey, how are you doing? You don't want to divulge everything going on in your world because you don't really know that other person with them. And that causes some uncomfort for you and for the other people. So what you want to do is you want to say to your friend, hey, I'm really glad to see you. They say, hey, how are you doing? I'm great. I've been pretty busy lately. I've been doing a lot of things. I can't wait to tell you what I've been up to. Can I call you tomorrow? Or can I send you a text message and let's set up a time to go have coffee together? So you're not only answering that question and it's a greeting, you're engaging in small talk, but you're furthering your relationship with your friend. That also gives your friend the opportunity to introduce the person with them. And that gives you another chance to meet somebody new and engage in conversation. Your response is not going to be in depth and it'll be pretty short, most likely. If you come across a friend and you're in a situation where it's a group, it's sort of the same situation. Don't divulge too much. Ask your friend how they're doing, contact them for a cup of coffee or drop them an email, but continue your furthering your relationship. Because small talk, ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about engagement. It's about getting those deep relationships. So I want to make sure that everybody has access to the worksheet that I've put together with the 4 quick and easy tips, because it's like a flow chart. It's kind of like when you answer that first question and then you've got the answer and then you go from the answer to the next one. And it may seem like it's going to take you a little bit, but in reality, these 4 steps are super fast. You think through them super quick, and within a few seconds, you've arrived at your answer. Here's the tip. The more you practice this, the more you implement these 4 factors into how you engage in small talk when somebody asks you the simple question of how are you doing. When you answer those 4 things, it goes super fast. And the more you do it, it becomes reflexive. It becomes an automatic thing that your brain does. As autistics, we don't naturally do this. We have to learn about these things in a different way. This is how I've taught myself. This is how I've shared and taught many of my autistic friends and many of you. So here's the Facebook group. It's the Socially Intelligent Autistic. It's a private group on Facebook. And this is where you can go and join, and it's free. It's for you. I created it simply so that we can have a place to have more in-depth discussions every week about whatever our video topic is. So I can share with you tips and worksheets and any kind of downloads, and where we can have a discussion. I'd love to hear what you think about this. When you try it out, let me know how it goes. I want to know exactly how great an experience you had using these. Do you feel more confident? Do you feel like you understand what's going on now before you started the video? Have you learned something new today? I sure hope so. So next week, join me when we talk about a new series, relationships. We're going to start with the disconnected relationship. What's that? Join me next week to find out.